The first apothecary in Boston, according to ship's records, was Giles Furman from Sudbury, Old England. He came to the colonies in 1633 aboard the same ship as Reverend John Cotton, serving also as a deacon and a selectman. And the first recorded shop was William Davis's in 1646 along Washington Street. By 1721, Boston was a flourishing port, and there were 14 apothecary shops by that December. But at the beginning of the 19th century, doctors and pharmacists, according to Robert A. Walsh, had long recognized the lack of standardization of drugs and the poor quality of some of the drugs being shipped in from abroad. Moreover, only approximately 30 pharmacists were serving a city population of 45,000 Bostonians. Therefore, the Massachusetts Medical Society in 1808 published the first extended American Pharmacopoeia, also leading to an increased interest in pharmaceutical science. By 1822, the Pharmaceutical Association was formed, and their December report led to the formation of the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy in January 1823. Son of Reverend Dr. Andrew Eliot, the pastor of New North Church and graduate of Harvard College, Dr. Ephraim Eliot was elected the first president of the association. His son, Ephraim L. Eliot, served as treasurer. Since the establishment of the Harvard Medical School in 1782, the fine line that separated physicians and pharmacists was becoming more defined. Therefore, the rising group of pharmacists worked to legitimize the profession, supported by local physicians who saw the association's members as the most reputable apothecaries in the city, according to their statement in the New England Journal of Medicine. However, the Boston legislature denied the initial charter, opposed by wholesale druggists. Regardless, Eliot and his colleagues continued to systematize pharmacy education, regulate apprenticeships, promote the science and the profession, and thwart false or inferior drugs. Not to mention any inappropriate pricing for the trade. The first expansion of the college came in April 1851, with membership widening to approximately 60 members. Then, 2 years later in 1853, the college charter was finally accepted, after nearly 30 years of struggle, and by 1876, it was extended indefinitely. Between 1823 and 1853, a number of highly regarded medical scientists had come to lecture and personally instruct the group, among them Martin Gay, Charles T. Jackson, John W. Webster, and J.P. Cook, Jr. of Harvard College. 2 years after the Civil War, in the spring of 1867, the first full class of 20 young men was assembled, and, quote, this informal beginning promised so well that the college resolved to establish a permanent school of pharmacy, close quote. Cyrus M. Tracy, E. L. Stoddard, and George F. H. Marco became its official lecturers, the first teachers for MCPHS, housed in the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. The lease for the MIT lecture room was $10. By 1869, the year of the Golden Spike that completed the first U.S. transcontinental railroad, Trustee Chairman Samuel W. Colcord was inviting further students to the courses. Free to all, ladies included. Of course, there were still some fees, $27, plus another $5 for a diploma. The first graduation ceremony took place on May 19th at Temple Place, with 10 diplomas awarded. In a stroke of luck, the school purchased fire insurance for Boylston Street just 3 days before the Great Fire of 1872. Additionally, much of their block was spared, even as the nearby financial district and harbor were destroyed. Therefore, MCP avoided ruin and continued on Boylston until moving to the Mayhew School building on Hawkins Street. they wouldn't be as fortunate there, since on January 23, 1877, it too burned to the ground. MCP returned to MIT until it moved into the old Franklin School building in 1878 back on Washington Street, not far from William Davis's first recorded shop. In 1886, it would relocate to the corner of St. Botolph and Garrison Street, a facility designed by architect S.E. Tobey with its own fully equipped pharmaceutical laboratory. But just in case the college would fail at the new location, the space was specifically designed so that it, quote, could be easily renovated for manufacturing. By 1889, over 278 students were registered for courses. Boston was the sixth largest city in the country, and the school's fields expanded too, starting only with practical pharmacy and then materia medica, botany, and chemistry. The school soon offered practical and analytical chemistry, theoretical pharmacy, organic chemistry, bacteriology, and technical pharmacy, though the latter was discontinued with the September 1896 death of Marco, having served nearly 30 years. A year later, the T, the nation's first subway system, was constructed. Though Colcord had signaled that women too were welcome to pharmacy, Agnes Wilbur was the first to receive a degree in 1892, commencement being held at the YMCA at the corner of Boylston and Berkeley Streets, and only its third female student. Notably, she was the vice president of her class and the school's delegate to that year's American Pharmaceutical Association meeting. Wilbur would soon be followed by Mary Elizabeth Woodard Bartlett just a year later. By the turn of the 20th century, MCP was awarding doctorate degrees, thanks in no small part to the funding being donated to the institution. On solid financial ground, particularly with the support of benefactor George Robert White, construction to begin in MCP's permanent home at 179 Longwood Avenue. The cornerstone was first laid on Tuesday, May 22, 1917. Yet, despite the opulence of the school's neo-Roman design, many men were being called to the Great War, and the female student population boomed. Only the great influenza epidemic of 1918 would cause the college to close, only for September and half of October. 1923, the school's centennial year, charted the highest enrollment in its history. 430 students, quote, including 44 girls, notes that winter's bulletin. Commercial pharmacy, pharmacy law, and jurisprudence became special topics, and a school orchestra, glee club, and the first student council, to be fully included in the policy-making of the college, were all established in 1937. Coursework in the 1940s was accelerated to accommodate the war effort and enlistment of eligible students. Quote, 5 years after the war ended, reports the 175th anniversary edition of the Bulletin, the college graduated its largest class, 131. 112 were war veterans. By the 1970s, MCP had merged the Hampton College of Pharmacy into its structure and had shared programs with such institutions as MGH in radiopharmacy. The college was elected to membership in and accredited by the New England Association of Schools and Colleges in 1974. In 1979, it changed its name to the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Allied Health Sciences to reflect its breadth of tutelage. Librarian Barbara M. Hill oversaw the implementation of computers on the campus, helping to form the Fenway Libraries Online, FLOW, automated library system. As the 80s draw to a close, MCP features students from 42 states and 39 countries. Women outnumber men 3-2. Charles Monahan becomes president of the college in 1997, and in 1998, The Massachusetts College of Pharmacy and Allied Health Sciences is congratulated on its 175th anniversary by Governor Paul Cellucci, Senators Ted Kennedy and John Kerry, and President Bill Clinton. Since then, 2002, MCPHS University acquires the Forsyth School for Dental Hygienists. 2004, the Ronald A. Matricaria Academic and Student Center opens. 2009, the Richard E. Griffin Academic Center opens. And 2011, MCPHS Online launches.